else in order to convince other people to do the job for them. They have media campaigns against immigrants. They play up things like crime, and they fuel people's racism in order to cause people to sign up and do the job of actually standing on this wall. Because if it were really up to the people that want this wall for their own reasons to stand it, then there would be one of them for every 10,000 of us, and it wouldn't be an issue. And so what we can do, besides fighting for what we know is right and for what we understand about all this, is to communicate to people and really show them that it is in their own interest and that they are actually the tools of somebody else. They're being used and manipulated emotionally and in other ways with racism and with fears of losing their job because of economic pressure coming on people on both sides of the wall. They're being manipulated into supporting this wall. And I think that if people understood that, if we were able to communicate with people who showed up to the no border camp for reasons other than getting rid of the border, for example, then it would be less of a fight and more of just evolution of our society.
I'm from northern Arizona, and I'm sitting back here, and I just got here early this morning, and I'm looking around at the majority of people that are here and the representation that we have here. I appreciate all the folks that showed up. Came up to the mic and talked about how indigenous representation and giving respects to that, but I feel like...
Do you want to be translated into Spanish?
Sure.
Entonces,
And so I'm just sitting here thinking about talking about indigenous people. It's like talking about them, talking about people that don't exist, people that were here before, or here and live these lands. And I'm just here to say that we do exist. I am here. We are here, and that we need to have that representation here. As, we're having this camp. It's great that we're having, but let's not just say we're having a camp, but actually have and bring these people into these areas from rural areas, because I see a lot of representation from city areas. And a lot of indigenous folks that live up and down the border that have been slapped between their communities need to hear their stories. They have beautiful inspirational stories that need to be shared and need to be heard out into the communities. And I feel like we always feel like these people are left out. If we don't know who these people are, the Tona'atum, the Yaqui, the Papago, the Apache, all these people, the southwestern folks who do exist and wander and have their prayers in these lands. Just want to put that out there. If we are going to have another camp and continue to do this, that we bring these folks in, because they know the direct relationship to these lands long before these borders were created, and that they know the names of these mountains and these rivers that have their original names and their connection with them. And so it'd be great to have that here, and we could hear that and share that and learn from that. Let's think about it.
Por mucho tiempo porque no soy muy buena para hablar al frente de mucha gente. I'm not going to talk for very much because I'm not very good at talking in front of so many people. This camp is an incredible opportunity for people from different sides to be face to face and to just talk to each other and live together for a little while.
I'm very grateful to be here with everyone, and I want to remind us that we're, as we're here representing ourselves as folks who are people who are against borders and people who are looking for a society without many, many things that are oppressive in it. I think it's important for us to think about what we can learn from this camp as parts of those groups of people, as parts of people who want to see another very different society, as parts of the group of people on this planet who want to see a planet without borders. And I really appreciate everything that the compañeras and compañeros have said about the ways in which we internalize this border and reproduce it on our own, even when there's not a wall or physicality that makes that happen. And I also want us to think about the ways that we are divided as a movement. this border, and ways that, in particular, I think that there's a lot of opportunity in the next 36 hours for us to figure out how to maintain, stay in contact, and act as a movement that is really without borders once we leave this camp, not just to make a camp that is without a border within it. Open to, and it is like placing within the context of many people who are fighting to make sure that there is freedom of movement on this continent. Find ways of representing ourselves to larger groups of people who are engaged in fighting against the process of the border and the process of maintaining this apartheid-like pass system that we have in the U.S. of who can move where and having papers and not having papers, and acknowledging that everywhere we come from, there are already people who are on this stuff that we need to hook up with. And lastly, I think that for my part, and I don't know that this is something that we as a group need to decide, but part of that for me is an ability to make our actions visible and to communicate with the ways that those people are interacting. And so that means not just making our own medias, but being in other people's media. I think it's really important, and we should strategize around that. Even whether that's hostile or not hostile, I think that's an important part of that. And I think that we cannot think of ourselves as like the better experts at this, but rather as people who have a lot to learn about how to fight against these systems.